Hold onto your magnifying glass, because the 1970 Washington quarter hides a handful of quirks that have collectors buzzing. The year 1970 marked a subtle shift for the quarter's design team. Small details in the eagle's feathers, the rim's thickness, and the metal composition combined to create varieties that the mint probably didn't anticipate would generate such excitement. Early in the decade, rising nickel prices had Washington quarters composed of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, a recipe carried over from the 1965 to 1969 issues. Yet, unlike the bicentennial quarters that would debut 5 years later, the 1970 release flew under the radar for most casual collectors. Today, however, experienced numismatists pore over specimens to pinpoint the rarest mistakes and the most pristine surfaces. Attention to subtle clues, not overt drama, separates the everyday pocket coin from a 5-figure auction standout. The story begins at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, where hundreds of millions of quarters rolled off the presses. In Philadelphia, a staggering 483 million coins emerged bearing no mint mark, while Denver logged 451 million with the familiar D nestled beneath Washington's neck. That immense volume means most survivors are common, but within such a sea of metal, even a few flawed planchets or misaligned dies produce treasures. The Philadelphia Mint's massive output also increases the odds of minor doubling, especially on the Liberty inscription or the date numeral, while Denver's gleaming proof-like strikes sometimes exhibit die scratches hidden by blemishes on heavily circulated examples. With so many coins to inspect, discerning eyes can spot an anomaly that transforms a piece of pocket change into a prize-worthy acquisition. In terms of historical background, the 1970 Washington quarter marked the 40th anniversary of that portrait's debut in 1932. Sculptor John Flanagan's depiction of George Washington had become an American icon. Finely detailed hair tied with a ribbon, a dignified gaze, and a reverse dominated by the spread wings of a heraldic eagle. No redesign plans were on the horizon in 1970, so the mint focused on refining production. Slight adjustments to the relief depth and die polishing techniques aimed to reduce die wear and extend production runs. The result occasionally led to overpolishing that erased minor design elements, like the serrated edges of the eagle's tail feathers, creating soft coins that intrigue specialists. Key identifying features start with the date's typography, the curves of the 1, the spacing between the 7 and the 0, and the serifs on each digit. Genuine 1970 quarters should show a crisp connection between the tip of Washington's bust and the rim, an area prone to die cracks. When a crack forms, a raised line of metal meanders across the portrait, a hallmark of valuable die crack error coins. Collectors searching for these signs hold each example at an angle under bright light, hunting for minute-raised ridges that shouldn't be there. These imperfections may seem insignificant, but they tell a story of intense pressure, thousands of strikes, and metal fatigue. Beyond die cracks, double die obverse, DDO, and double die reverse, DDR, varieties command top dollar. On the obverse, doubling may manifest in the word trust, or along the rim's denticles. Within the E pluribus unum banner, extra shadowing or faint second impressions hint at misaligned hubs during hubbing. DDRs on the reverse are less common but equally captivating. Duplicated bars in the eagle's wing feathers create a ghostly image that disappears if you tilt the coin. Because the mint didn't catalog these errors in 1970, no official varieties list exists, making each discovery the thrill of personal detective work. When it comes to current market value, a well-worn 1970 Philadelphia quarter might fetch 25 to 50 cents on the collector market, a modest premium over face value. Increase the grade into the extremely fine YF40 range, and prices climb into the single digits. Once a coin reaches mint state, MS 60 condition, values jump to $10 to $15. In MS 65, collectors often pay $25 to $30, and certified MS 67 examples can command close to $100. Exceptional error coins disrupt this scale. A highly detailed DDO quarter-graded MS 63 could fetch several $100s, while a clean DDR specimen in MS 64 might break the $1,000 threshold in private sales. Auction records highlight the extremes. In late 2024, a Philadelphia-struck 1970 DDO graded MS 66 by a top-tier grading service sold for $2,400, eclipsing earlier benchmarks by nearly 20%. That single sale demonstrated how a scarce error, married to a near-flawless strike, magnifies value beyond conventional rarity alone. In another sale earlier this year, an off-center 1970 Denver quarter misaligned by 25%, with part of the eagle absent, closed at $1,800 after competitive bidding, even though its condition hovered in the low MS60s. Those examples remind collectors that error coins can defy usual condition-based valuations when the mistake's drama outweighs minor surface flaws. Fascinating stories often accompany these coins. In one notable discovery, a retired schoolteacher in Ohio donated a battered roll of quarters to charity, unaware that the fifth coin in the stack revealed a faint shift in the strike. That quarter, later authenticated as a 1970 Philadelphia off-center piece, sold for over $1,200 at auction. The teacher's casual generosity turned a mundane act into a headline-grabbing find, reinforcing how everyday actions can unearth numismatic gold. Another tale involves an experienced dealer who spotted a faint horizontal die crack extending from Washington's chin into the rim. Recognizing its potential, he purchased the coin for $5, only to see it appraised at $300 once slabbed and certified. Condition-based value variations deserve close attention at every grade level. In circulated grades, good through very fine, expect values from face up to about $2 for coins with moderate wear. Between very fine VF20 and about uncirculated -50 Australian dollars, look for values between $3 and $8, depending on strike quality and eye appeal. Uncirculated examples break above $10, but only those with full luster and minimal contact marks secure steady premiums. At MS63, prices hover around $12 for Philadelphia and slightly higher for Denver. By MS65, the eye appeal premium takes effect. Patina and reflective surfaces can net $30 or more, especially when accompanied by original mint luster bands. Professional grading adds another layer. Slabbed coins eliminate guesswork about authenticity and grade, often boosting buyer confidence and price. A raw MS65 quarter might sell for $30 privately, but when slabbed and encapsulated with an error designation, that same specimen can command $45 to $60 at retail. For DDO and DDR examples, grading services designation of variety or error on the holder certifies their uniqueness, inviting collectors to pay a premium. Even subtle notes like die crack obv draw specialized interest, causing bidding wars among error enthusiasts. Mint mark variations contribute to the narrative. Some collectors focus exclusively on Philadelphia's no-mark issues, hunting minor striking weaknesses unique to that facility's steel composition. Others chase Denver's D coins for their sharper die polish and occasionally faint doubling hidden beneath clearer fields. An MS66 D coin may carry a slightly higher price tag than its Philadelphia counterpart in MS65, reflecting both condition and mint mark desirability. For error hunters, an MS64 DDO quarter might be worth $400, while the same variety from Philadelphia could be closer to $300. An interesting twist driven by collector preferences. Before moving on to the next chapter in our exploration, take a moment to inspect your own change for those telltale signs. A faint ridge of metal, a shadowy echo of lettering, or an extra flash of die polish in the field. That inspection might reveal a gem you never knew was tucked in your pocket or coin roll. Up next, we'll journey into the quirks and hidden values of the 1981 Washington quarter, where a handful of overlooked varieties can surprise even the most seasoned collector. And here's where things get even more intriguing. The 1981 Washington quarter often slips by unnoticed, yet it harbors subtle mysteries that can reward a patient eye. With mintage numbers still hefty, over 430 million from Denver and more than 500 million out of Philadelphia, this issue seems run-of-the-mill at first glance. Under ordinary light, though, you'll begin to see faint die cracks arc across Washington's cheek, doubling whispers in E pluribus unum, and occasional planchet flaws that hint at unrestored mint machinery. This quarter emerged after nearly a decade of streamlined production methods, yet the mint's drive for efficiency sometimes produced anomalies that, Today, thrill-seasoned collectors who know exactly where to peer. The tale of the 1981 quarter begins amid rising metal costs in the late 1970s. Facing budget constraints, the U.S. Mint maintained the same 91.67% copper/8.33% nickel-clad composition introduced in 1965. By 1981, improvements in blank preparation and die steel hardening promised cleaner strikes, but they also led to new varieties of planchet lamination errors. Around the Philadelphia facility, rolls of planchets occasionally shed layers during striking, giving some coins a scalloped appearance along the edges or thin, silvery streaks where the nickel layer separated. Collectors refer to these as lamination splits, and spotting one in a high grade can elevate a common date into a noteworthy find. Key identifying features start with a close look at the rim and lettering. Genuine 1981 quarters should show a sharp, consistent rim thickness. When overzealous die polishing occurred, that rim sometimes thinned, leading to broad rim errors where the lip of the coin flares outward. That subtle bulge becomes apparent only under magnification, but it transforms a near-common piece into a specialty variety that commands collector interest. Meanwhile, minute die cracks often fan out from the left side of Washington's bust. Those cracks frequently appear as delicate hairlines, weaving through the letters of liberty, or trailing off into the coin's field. Each crack line tells a tale of die fatigue, and each one can add a premium of anywhere from $5 to $50, depending on how extensive and well-defined it is. Alongside die cracks, doubling can occur on both obverse and reverse. On the front, doubling often subtly ghosts the date's numerals, where the 1 or 9 may sport a faint twin image just a hair's breadth away. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers sometimes reveal a second impression, creating a fleeting sense of motion as you tilt the coin. Because the Mint did not document these varieties in its official listings, no 1981 double die obverse certificate exists. Each example turns into a personal discovery, a private triumph for collectors who can certify and share their find at shows or online forums. When it comes to market value, most circulated 1,981 quarters trade hands at a slight premium over face, generally between 30 cents and $1. Move into uncirculated grades and you'll see values climb modestly. MS60 coins might fetch $1.50 to $2, MS63 around $4 to $6, and MS65 between $10 and $15. But it's the error and variety pieces that really bend the scale. A well-defined die crack specimen, even in a mid-mint state grade like MS62, can score $20 to $30 on a good day. Double die obverse in MS64 can achieve upwards of $75, and a crisp broad rim error in MS65 has traded privately for over $120. The true outliers, lamination splits of dramatic size, or multi-strike pieces showing partial overlaps of the eagle, can eclipse $200 when the right bidder decides they simply can't let the coin slip away. Auction records underscore this spectrum. In early 2025, a Philadelphia struck 1981 with exceptional die break across Washington's hairline sold for $425 after spirited online bidding. That coin, graded MS66 by a leading service, featured a pronounced crack stretching from the ear to the rim, so bold it nearly resembled a deliberate design flourish. In 2023, a Denver Mint lamination error, where a nickel layer peel created a raised, silvery ridge along half the rim, closed at $350 despite its lower MS61 grade, simply because no other large-scale example was known to exist at the time. These sales remind us that what really drives value is not only grade, but the drama of the mistake and the rarity of the variety. Stories about the 1981 quarter often emerge from unexpected places. One longtime coin dealer recounts a gentleman who brought in a handful of automotive tokens and pocket change after clearing out his father's garage. Amid the tokens lay a shiny 1981 quarter with an unusual off-center strike, offset by nearly 15%, cutting off part of Washington's shoulder. Initially rejected as a misfeed error and sold for $2, it later drew thousands of dollars in online bidding once enthusiasts recognized its rarity. Meanwhile, a prominent error specialist describes finding a mule of sorts, a coin struck on a planchet intended for the half-dollar series. The thicker, leaner profile gave the 1981 quarter an almost proof-like cameo appearance, and collectors still debate whether it occurred through dye misplacement or a mint worker's oversight. Diving deeper, it's worth noting how dye polishing practices influenced these varieties. In 1981, the Philadelphia Mint applied aggressive polishing to dyes to extend their lifespan, but this sometimes eradicated fine details in the eagle's tail feathers. The resulting soft fields reveal smooth, featureless spaces where texture should dominate. Collectors prize coins that balance crisp detail with light polishing, but a coin that shows strong luster against a uniformly smooth field can fetch surprising premiums. The interplay of light and shadow on those fields gives such coins an almost ethereal quality, especially under direct spotlight at numismatic exhibitions. Condition-based value swings remain sharp. In heavily circulated grades, good through fine, most 1981 quarters barely top face value, unless they exhibit a conspicuous error like an off-center strike or a broad planchet clip. Once you rise to very fine VF20 and about uncirculated AU50, prices typically range from $1 to $3 for standard issues. The real thresholds open at mint state. MS60 coins bring $2 to $3, MS63 around $5, and MS65 about $12. As you climb to MS67, exceptional pieces with original mint luster and minimal hairlines command $30 to $50. Error and variety coins, however, recalibrate all of these figures upward, especially when slabbed and certified. Professional grading seals the deal. A raw broad rim error in MS63 might trade privately for $20, but encapsulated by a respected service, that same coin can hit $35 or more, given the holder's error attribution and secure grade. Double die examples, designated as Variety X or DDO on the slab, often see a 25% to 40% premium over raw market values. In effect, the slab becomes both a certificate of authenticity and a marketing tool, signaling to collectors that the coin merits special attention. Mint mark plays its role too. Collectors sometimes show a mild preference for Denver's D varieties, citing sharper dye polish and a slightly different luster profile due to the mint's annealing process. As a result, an MS65D broad rim error may trade at $15 to $20 above a Philadelphia counterpart in the same grade. Conversely, some error hunters chase Philadelphia's no mint mark issues, believing the facility's higher production volume led to more instances of misfeeds and die cracks. That preference translates to small but noticeable price differentials. An MS64 Philadelphia DDO can bring $60, while an MS64 Denver version might edge closer to $80. Next, we'll pull all these threads together, compare our 1970 and 1981 finds side by side, and explore strategies for navigating auctions and private sales so you can maximize your returns, whether you're holding a subtle crack or a bold, breathtaking mint error masterpiece.